What's up guys, Kito Chee here, and I want to talk a bit briefly about Smoke 2.0 by Rorrison. Basically, as you saw just right there, that is the ability to produce a cloud of smoke straight from your empty mouth. Now, this effect has been out for at least a decade by now. I think it came out in like 2008 originally with the original Smoke, and then just a few years now, Theory 11 came out with Smoke 2.0, which is same thing but with a couple upgrades. You're not having to do any switches or anything like that, which is great. You can basically have more freedom to create your own routine with it. Now, I want to address a few things here, and this is less of a review because I think the trick in itself is already really great. There's really nothing much to talk about, but I just wanted to give my own tips and advice for it, from my own experience. And one thing I do want to address though is that if you haven't done Smoke or Smoke 2.0 in a while, they have improved the system for it, in which now the gimmick itself, obviously I'm not gonna show what it is, but it used to be a two-piece system or gimmick. Now they've made it a one-piece gimmick. Previously, when I did this trick, because it was a two-piece system or whatever, you wouldn't always get a great seal on it, so you wouldn't be able to extract a lot of smoke from the gimmick because there wasn't a very tight seal. Even when I've reached out to Theory 11 about this, I said, oh, just use tape and it'll seal it better. It did sometimes, but then sometimes it didn't. So it wasn't really. It was Smoke 2.0 for a while was quite defective in my opinion. But now, just in the last months or whatever, they've improved it now, so it's like a one-piece system, so that it's less of an issue and you're able to extract a lot more smoke. There's no worry of having to recharge anything anymore, which is great. So literally when you run out, you can just switch to a new like refill, whatever thing, and yeah, you're good to go. So that's one thing I want to address in case you haven't done Smoke 2.0. They have improved it now, so it's less of an issue. Now, the main thing I want to discuss in this little review, but mostly like advice video or tip video, is that the original routine that they taught you in Smoke or Smoke 2.0, where you take the lighter and you draw. Well, first you draw a dot on your hand, and you tell people, oh, imagine this as a hole or a dot and whatever, right? Then you just say, imagine I can actually put things into the hole and make it travel up my arm, etc. Right? You take a lighter or a match, and then you place that underneath your hand. And you pretend like you're grabbing the heat, and then you make it travel up, and then you produce smoke. That trick was a lot more powerful 10 years ago, or even 5 years ago. And the last few years now, I have had less and less reactions from people, and even I didn't want to admit it to people. But even when I did post my my Smoke 2.0 performance like a couple years back, and right now it's like the most popular video on my channel. It's got like already like 15,000 views, I think, or something like that, which is okay, maybe not 15,000, but like maybe 2,000, something like that. Pretty high for a small channel like mine. But simply put, guys, because of the popularity of e-cigarettes or people vaping now, that trick is a lot less powerful now, because people are kind of more aware of vape and things like that. Okay, and without going too much in depth about it, but because of that trick, just producing smoke in itself is not as impressive as it once was. It might be still impressive to like some people, like maybe like kids or whatever, or people just aren't as aware about it, but just producing smoke on its own, just like trying to do this action of making the heat travel up into your mouth and producing smoke, it's not as, like, it doesn't seal it anymore, you know? So what I have come to realize now, and this is just from playing around with a few ideas. Now, if you've seen my most recent performance performance video on my channel, where I've kind of adapted my routine now. Now, I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check it out. But essentially now this is an idea from Eric Jones, where you're basically pretending he's drawing in the air and making and rolling up a joint. While he does this, right, it's kind of playing with your imagination, right? So when he eventually pretends like he's lighting up the joint, that's how he produces smoke. I took that idea, or borrowed that idea more or less, right? And this is an idea kind of explained a bit in the original smoke tutorial, where you draw a cigarette. It originally be on a card, but instead I did it on a notepad. Now, you'll see in the video, draw a cigarette, rip it off, fold it up, roll it up, and you can still do the action of, like, you know, add in the powder or whatever, rolling it up, sealing it, and then taking the piece of paper, pretending to light it, smoke it, and then that's how you produce a cloud of smoke. And that, I've played with it for the last months or so. I've been getting a lot better reactions now, because people will now associate the smoke coming from the paper, as opposed to having that big question in their mind when you're doing the original trick portal of smoke coming out. It's like, oh, he must have smoked, he must have had something in his mouth, or when did he sneak the smoke in his mouth, or whatnot, right? Or how did he even get there, right? If they backtrack enough or reverse engineer it, there's a good chance they're going to figure out. They're pretty smart about it, right? So, but with the rolled up paper, and they're just kind of using your imagination, it sells the point of the trick more. Oh, you're creating a cloud of smoke with just an ordinary piece of paper, not a real cigarette, right? And so for a moment they think, oh, it's coming from the paper. But then the kicker comes, and you'll see this in the video, is like, after I've drawn the picture of the cigarette, you open the paper up and it changes into a no smoking sign, which is the sort of kicker, or the final tier of my routine that I do now. And the nice thing is, you might see it in the video, but sometimes if you're lucky enough, as you're opening up the paper, there'll still be smoke coming out from the paper as you're opening up. Adds a nice little bonus effect to it, and then you can show the picture changes, and you can hand that as a souvenir. My point is that, you know, if you've kind of given up on Smoke 2.0 for a while, instead of making the smoke as the main effect, you should have it as the enhancer of another effect. So as you can see, what I did here is I've taken an old effect where you take it, when you make a drawing, you try to make it a real thing by mimicking the action of smoking. And I mean, if you want to borrow this idea for yourself, by all means. I am not going to claim this as my own or anything, but take this idea, you know, play with it, and you know, watch Eric Jones's performance of it too on YouTube. But from that, all you have to really do is just make the smoke as the enhancer of the trick, not as the main trick, but as the side trick, so to speak. But then once they have those both together, they'll have more things to kind of think about. Okay, where did the smoke come from? How did the picture change? How did he get it into the paper? Because now they'll think, oh, instead of the smoke coming from your mouth, they think it came from the paper for a moment. You know what I mean? Because at least you had something like in the moment when you produce the smoke. You know. Watch my performance video. You know, watch Eric Jones's video version of it. You know, but take some of those ideas and just remember, play around with this, and maybe, I'm sure you'll find your own way, or you'll see that this trick can still have a lot of potential even in 2019 going forward. If you have any more questions about this trick or just my approach on it, leave your comments down below. But I hope you enjoyed this review, or say advice video regarding Smoke 2.0 by Rorrison. I hope you don't forget to hit the like and subscribe, and hope to see you guys in my future videos.